Safe. Keep the treat them clean and safe. Value and conserve with culture and natural environment. Let we plant trees them and keep we environment green all time. Then one where they can visit we country forget the best service and we for welcome them with smile all the time. No harass them. Na for be them paddy teach them but we culture with tradition and tell them fine story but salon. No cry you country down. Remember say other country themselves get their own problem and challenge them, but then they left all that na them country where then they come to we. Tourism business na all man business. This message come out from National Tourist Board with support from the Salon Economic Diversification Project. SLED.
Watching AYV Television.
All right. Today's on a normal day. Today's Wednesday, and it's always considered to be Ladies' Day, Phoebe.
Okay. Good morning, Samuel. Good morning to the viewers and listeners of Wake Up Sierra Leone. It's a beautiful morning, and it's another edition of your favorite breakfast program.
All right.
Supposed to be Ladies' Day, right? Well, you could as well just decide to take all the ladies out for lunch.
All right, and we have to discuss that, and when it is approved, you know, we have to take management decisions.
I'm talking about a personal decision. You making a personal decision.
Phoebe, those are the things. We'll discuss it off the camera.
Right, and that negotiation is going to be tough on you. But it's a good morning, actually. I love the weather, and right. It's beautiful, but it's you know, moving about and seeing kids, you know, getting ready for school, you know, moving about, people going to work. Sometimes it sends a different message to the brain. Today is one of those days where, I don't know, just seeing people going up and about I'm happy because it takes my mind back to the days of the Rebel War. In as much as I wasn't old enough to fully comprehend what was happening, but I recall that things were not like this. And even when you follow the news in countries right now where they have, what should I put it? They don't experience peace, for lack of a better way to put it. In as much as it could not be war, there are countries where there's not war, but they don't have that luxury of going about freely. Sierra Leone is a country where we don't wake up in the morning and begin to think about, you know, terrorist attacks. Yeah. What if I go to school today and somebody comes out with a gun and kills people, or comes out with a knife and stabs people, or, you know, a terrorist attack, an explosion somewhere. And today is one of those days where seeing all the activities of morning activities of people, I feel grateful and thankful for Sierra Leone. Right. I really do.
We're a peaceful nation, and I think for the longest of time we've served as a model, because though that appears to be deteriorating, in the last year or so we were ranked 3rd in the region, but now we are ranked 4th most peaceful country in the region. But I strongly believe that our Sierra Leonean brothers and sisters, they are so focused and are so determined to protect our peace and keep the stability of the state. That is something no matter the level of disagreement or disgruntlement, or people feel dissatisfied, want to register their grievances or dissatisfaction, we are a peaceful nation and we're peaceful people.
To God be the glory for the peace we enjoy.
Right.
It's the second day in the month of November already, and I'm looking at the countdown to the end of 2022. I want to see 2023 now. I'm probably exhausted with 2022. I like new things.
I was just going to ask, what's in what's going to be new about 2023? Oh,
a new year.
year.
That's what's exactly.
Oh,
it's going to be new, and I'm also looking forward to my birthday in January. So yes, I want the end of 2022 already. I want to see 2023. I want to be dancing Happy New Year, and I want to be singing to myself, "Oh, happy birthday!" So yes, I'm looking forward.
Until
to
then,
that.
Fabian, this is how we welcome our lovely audience into today's edition of the favorite breakfast show, Wake Up Early here on AYV Television on Channel 43 and DSTV Channel 399. On Radio FM 101.7, and those of you who would wish to go to www.ayvnews.com, you're also welcome to do so. My name is Samuel Wise-Bangura.
And I am Fabian Sweel. Thanks for joining us this morning in the program. Be a part of the conversation by joining our live broadcast on Facebook, AYV News page. Search there and let's keep the conversation flowing. Before we delve into the conversation proper this morning, as usual, we will join David Remy Wilson, who will be bringing us top stories from our news.
But that would have to be done after this commercial break.
More and more people are using Rokel SIM Copper Plus in their everyday lives. Did you hear that? She just transferred money for her daughter's school fees. And this man just paid for some products. Ah, Mr. Abu, are you sending money to your wife again?
Yes, like Rokel SIM Copper.
Ah.
Yes, like having money in my pocket.
Ah, excellent.
Thank you.
He just bought some eggs. The world is digital, so keep up with the times. Have you got a payment to make? If so, just download Rokel SIM Copper Plus now. You can download the Rokel SIM Copper Plus app from Apple iStore and iPad or Google Play Store for Android users. You see, it's fast, safe and reliable.
Welcome to Chicken Town, where the food is nice and the vibe is right. Let your hair down, relax. For you early risers, start your day with a delicious breakfast at our Charlotte Street branch. We also deliver. Call 074 800 700 or 080 600 700 to order a delivery straight to your door. Chicken Town at 15 Charlotte Street and 39 Old Railway Line, Freetown.
All right, thank you very much, Samuel and Phoebe. In our top stories this morning, yesterday, President Julius Maada Bio has commissioned a consignment of agricultural machine donated by the Chinese embassy here in Sierra Leone. He says the support has demonstrated China's sheer belief in the country's national development priorities and the drive to achieve food security and strengthen food systems. The President encouraged the Agriculture Ministry to use the machines in the best interest of the people of Sierra Leone.
The back-breaking task of trying to use hoes and cutlasses to farm. Now, we are reducing that. We have machines. We have bought several tractors in the past, and it is our responsibility to take care of those machines. That is something that we are very poor at. We don't take care of machines. And machines can only serve us if we take care of them. So, to the ministry and the service center managers, machine ring heads, that is more of the private sector, I will encourage you to put these machines under shade, take care of them, maintenance them, and we'll be able to have the full use.
In another story, the chief executive officer of the African Virginia yesterday provided lunch for staff and partners of the Africa Young Voices Media Empire. According to the CEO, this is a way of celebrating the Africa Youth Day and staff of AYV. Ambassador Navo says Africa youth have the strength required to develop the continent if given the opportunity.
Paying back to young people in this country for installing something very huge was to create voice for young people. And we're here today with close to 500 young people being employed in this institution. You know, and guess what? 99% of all of them are youths. Samuel Wise today is one of our general managers in the company. He was there as head of news in the newsroom for many years, graduated to communications director, now he's one of our GMs. Anthony and others are now all in the newsroom. So this is a clear manifestation of young people running their own affairs. So I want to thank you, the staff. Please give yourself a thank you is to serve you today on Africa. Today you've served me in the last 12 months. Today I'm going to serve all of you. Very modest way. So it's what we call the Pemaon. And remember we also have the Benjamin. The Benjamin is the Pemaon with no fish, no.
And finally, residents at Komon-Tok community have raised concerns over the deplorable road condition in their community. Poor road network, they say, affects their daily activities like going to school, work, market, and even the smooth movements of sick persons going to the hospital.
This place for this 9 years.
I have been here over 9 years. One of my siblings fell down and hurt himself. As a result of the bad road, the dust highly affects us. The road is not in any way friendly. As a result of the bad condition of the road, bikes and trucks carrying our goods ask for high amounts of money.
The community, not fine for me. Say I go this hospital where they are.
And from up here, for Komon-Tok, go to medical hospital for in connection for the belly woman there. And the road is bad. You dictate motor man if you go there.
From Rokupa to Approve School and then to Meshkem Hospital, the road is very deplorable. It has many potholes. These potholes are deep. You can tell that the road is not friendly. Pregnant women find it very hard to walk to the hospital while they are at the point of giving birth. The ambulance which carry them finds it very hard to apply to. Bikes are unable as well to reach certain destinations.
All right, that's all we have in our top stories this morning. Back to Phoebe and Samuel in our main studios.
All right, many thanks indeed, David Remy Wilson, for bringing us some of the top stories in the news. Coming up in the show this morning, we shall be looking at exclusively the summon that Parliament has summoned the Minister of Finance to explain the country's current state of economy. And also the bank governor is among those being summoned to discuss Sierra Leone's monetary policies. We shall be speaking to members of Parliament to understand the need for the summon.
And we would also be speaking to the AfriMoney Director, Martison Obeng, on the AfriMoney Church donation platform created on the AfriMoney menu, among other things.
A quote for today says, a successful economic development strategy must focus on improving the skills of the area's workforce, reducing the cost of doing business and making available the resources business need to compete and thrive in today's global economy. And it comes from Rod Blagojevich, an American former politician, political commentator. With that, let's quickly again take a commercial break and we will be right back to go into our very first segment.
More and more people are using Rokel SIM Copper Plus in their everyday lives. Did you hear that? She just transferred money for her daughter's school fees. And this man just paid for some products. Ah, Mr. Abu, are you sending money to your wife again?
Yes, like Rokel SIM Copper.
Ah.
Yes, like having money in my pocket.
Ah, excellent.
Thank you.
He just bought some eggs.
The world is digital, so keep up with the times. Have you got a payment to make? If so, just download Rokel SIM Copper Plus now.
You can download the Rokel SIM Copper Plus app from Apple iStore and iPad or Google Play Store for Android users. You see, it's fast, safe, and reliable.
This is the Central University. Here, we move a little differently. We are the change makers, the innovators. We are solving the problems of the 21st century. We create, we lead, we inspire. Beginning your journey at Central University is opening your chapter to success. Here, we are a family that works together to make change today for a better Sierra Leone and world tomorrow. Here is a home for you. Central University, a place where careers begin.
Sierra Leone decides when it breaks at the polling stations. We are your first and most reliable witnesses. We deliver a crisp and concise as usual.
With our modern broadcasting equipment, seamless coverage all round.
From all angles and perspectives on TV, radio, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
We serve you with nothing but unadulterated information. For sure, we are your trusted election hub.
We will give you a round-the-clock update and a precise look and picture of the election.
We will uncover and probe the business side of the polls.
Who's buying whose vote and why you should be concerned.
We will assemble all the experts shaping the conversation.
Before, during, and after the elections,
we are ready.
The tasks ahead, we are more than ready.
We are your home of all things credible, factual, and all times balanced.
AYV.
AYV. AYV.
AYV.
AYV.
AYV.
Welcome back. This is Wake Up Sierra Leone on AYV television and radio. We encourage feedback from you in the program, so kindly drop a comment or question about what we're discussing on our Facebook page, AYV News. We would add that to the program much later.
All right, in our first segment this morning, leaders of opposition political parties in Parliament have on Friday, 28 October, moved a motion asking Parliament to summon the Minister of Finance, the bank governor, and other stakeholders charged with the responsibilities of managing the country's economy. This, according to the opposition leaders, is for them to explain to Parliament the measures they have put in place to mitigate the current economic situation of the country. They made this motion in the context of the global food, fuel, and finance crisis, among other things. So this morning, to look at the need for the summon and what would that mean for Sierra Leone's economy, we have with us Honorable Ibrahim Tawa Conte, representing the ruling Sierra Leone People's Party in Parliament. Honorable, good morning and welcome to Wake Up Sierra Leone.
Good morning.
All right, we're also expecting Honorable Saliu Sisei from the opposition All People's Congress Party to be part of the conversation. But first off, Honorable, let's get to it. At the initial stage of Parliament, many Sierra Leoneans were hopeful in the sense that the 2018 elections brought about a fascinating outcome, a very fine mix in the House, thinking that that House was going to be different from the previous gatherings we've had in the House, in the sense that the House came out telling Sierra Leoneans that, in fact, what we will be doing will be having public hearing. We'll be inviting stakeholders, ministers, heads of parastatals to ask questions so that you, the people, can also witness and see what Parliament can do. To the disappointment of many Sierra Leoneans, that does not seem to happen. And now we are seeing where different heads of parastatals, including ministries, have been summoned. Some don't even show up, thinking that they are bigger than Parliament. So the first question I would like to ask is Parliament in itself powerful to actually help transform Sierra Leone?
Thank you very much. Good morning, viewers and listeners. I think Parliament has enough powers in the Constitution to guarantee its authority and to guarantee its independence as an independent organ of government working alongside the legislature and the judiciary. And as the body given the authority by the Constitution to make law for the peace, security and safety of Sierra Leone and Sierra Leoneans, and to ensure that we scrutinize the works of ministries, departments and agencies. To a large extent, I think Parliament has done a job. Public hearing, yes, to some extent. When I was chairman of Transparency, I'm sure you've seen a lot of public hearings, a lot of activities, bringing MDAs, and it was live on air. People had the opportunity to interact and see exactly what Parliament is doing and how Parliament scrutinizes MDAs in the performance and in the execution of their functions. And mostly when we have critical debates, it is also viewed and aired live. What Parliament has not done is to enhance and improve on what the Speaker intended, that is to have question time, to have ministers of government, to have heads of parastatal come to Parliament and faced with questions from members of Parliament regarding the management of their agencies, the management of the ministries, the management of departments, and what members of Parliament think in terms of what their work and how their work is affecting their constituents. That we have not done. And that is something that members of Parliament have been asking for. But overall, I think the mix, like you've mentioned, of the current Parliament should produce a better outcome. And I think this Parliament has done a very good job to a large extent. That does not mean that this Parliament have been excellent. Because if you look at the number of laws, the legislations we've passed, they are showing a positive outlook of Sierra Leone. If you look at the abolition of the criminal libel, you look at the improvement and empowerment of the IMC, you look at the Sexual Offences Act that was amended in 2019, you look at the Anti-Corruption Act that gives now the anti-corruption extra power to pursue corruption and to work on corruption matters. If you look at that same act, you would realize that this Parliament has given the anti-corruption the power to stop a contract at a particular point in its preparatory or bidding stage to investigate if there is any anomaly, if anybody decides to tip the anti-corruption off of any anomaly or any...
Progressively, you've been acclaimed for legislation for enacting laws in Parliament. But let me quickly ask you this question. Going by the manifesto of your political party, the Sierra Leone People's Party, you promised effective and efficient management of the state and its resources. Now, from the side of Parliament, those of you representing the ruling Sierra Leone People's Party, has that been achieved, or is that progress been made?
Well, the management of state resources, I would say, to a large extent, if you look at the manifesto and you look at what was promised under the economy, you realize that the government promised an increase in revenue generation, revenue to GDP. The target was to get to 20% by 2023. And to get to 20% by 2023, we require to do a lot of reforms in terms of improving the tax administration, improving tax laws, get get different means of generating revenue. And you realize that between 2018 to 2020, we moved the revenue to GDP from 11% to 14%. That is a commitment, and that is a progressive action that is being taken by the government to meet its manifesto commitment. However, the government had also promised in its manifesto, we had also promised in our manifesto, that we will control expenditure. And in terms of expenditure control, there are some expenditures you cannot control. There are some expenditures that are controllable. For example, there was a lot of stress on the management of fleet in the manifesto. There was a lot of concern about how vehicles and how other items are purchased, because most of government expenditures, if you look at the budget, if you look at the Gazette quarterly report that comes to Parliament, you realize that 50% or 20% of government budgets goes to procurement. So procurement is a major issue. And if you look at some of the reforms that has been done at the National Procurement Authority, you will realize that there has been a lot of change in terms of procurement management, in terms of monitoring of procurement. Now we have the procurement bulletin that is coming out on a quarterly basis. There is a price norm that is being monitored. There is that norm now that you cannot go beyond.
Can I take you on the side of expenditure? But just quickly, let's welcome Honorable Saliu Sise from the Opposition All People's Congress Party. Good morning and welcome to Wake Up Australia.
Good morning.
So let me take you on the side of expenditures. Your party promised control of expenditure. And when the APC was in power, few months to them leaving power, we saw the implementation of an austerity program. About 22 programs were announced aimed at saving recurrent expenditure of about 3.9 billion. At the time, we didn't get any figure to know whether or not that amount was saved. But when the SLPP came, we also saw similar measures being taken, where the government came out with a statement saying, except for essential travels, all travels were banned, except for essential ones. And if you have a conference, you should not go out of your conference room. But we're not seeing all of those things happening. We're seeing ministries having conferences in different hotels across Freetown. AYV is always invited to go cover those, those programs. But also, the Minister of Finance, when presenting the 2022 budget to Parliament, spoke about shifting from recurrent expenditure to capital expenditure. How has that panned out for the development of Sierra Leone? Have we been able to achieve that? Is that realistic in the implementation process so far?
Well, so far, you see that Sierra Leone is among the few countries where, even in the midst of COVID, we're still seeing projects being rolled out. We're seeing activities that were started by the previous government about being completed, or new activities are ongoing. If you look at the development or capital expenditure that the minister spoke of, you realize that there has been significant shift in terms of capital projects happening across the country. Whether it's Kono District, the current Kono University that is ongoing, even though the government has solicited an agreement that started way back, has solicited financing from the ECOWAS, but we are yet to receive the ECOWAS funding. But as a government, we realize that the number of children coming out from the schools continuously keeps increasing, and that is normal because the population is increasing, so you expect the outcome to be the same. So for us to meet the demand to provide quality tertiary education, the government thought it fit that, yes, we as a government should start pre-financing this project, and that project is ongoing. The number of road project completion or ongoing, you see the Lumley Toke is still ongoing to a point where it is almost completed. There is a lot of projects, even in my constituency. If you go to Lumley, the Sheriff Drive, Momo Drive, Juba Hill is ongoing. And there are a number of projects going around across the country. But come to think of it, if government, that is the major business provider for some of the private sector, especially those in the hospitality industry, if government decides to close the door on doing activities or holding conferences, holding meetings, holding symposia in these hotels or in public halls, then you are also strangulating private sector.
So did we leap before we looked?
You have to take a step, And when you take that step, you would also have to review. Because if as a government you're targeting an increase in domestic revenue, you would also look at the sources of these revenues. And some of the major sources are the private sector, whether it is the hospitality. In fact, the hospitality industry is one of the industries, as President Bio has always said, he wants to diversify the economy, and the economic diversification has to do with fisheries, tourism, and agriculture. So if for any reason you want to diversify the economy, and the prime sector in that diversification process is the hospitality, then you as a government, you are strangulating that particular sector, then your aspiration of diversification would be at a point where it collides with what you expect and what the outcome should be. So what the government has reviewed is that, yes, at the initial stage, you cannot let the cat loose. Everybody go out and do programs. You must have measure. You must have policies. And I'm sure as government, we're putting together policies that would ensure that we promote both the hospitality industry, which in turn would add to the revenue base of the country, and at the same time sustain employment of our people. Because if you starve them of giving them programs, and the government is the biggest holder of programs in Sierra Leone, if you starve them of giving them programs, they will redundant the Sierra Leoneans. And those Sierra Leoneans, once they are redundant, they are not working, it will come back to government. It becomes an unemployment issue. So on that aspect, it is clearly understandable that it was meaningful for the government to go back and ensure that we start doing programs and supporting the hospitality sector. It's like in one of the Finance Acts, I don't know whether it's Finance Act of 2019, Parliament approved the clause that gives the Ministry of Finance the power to ensure that all shipment is done by, or all shipment clearing is done by the Sierra Leone National Shipping Agency. But the Sierra Leone Chamber of Commerce, knowing the effect it would have on other private clearing firms and private clearing agency, came back to the government, presented the position, and the government had to understand that, yes.
So is this a situation of government making, policies without doing proper consultation with relevant institutions? Because we get an announcement, a policy on one thing. Next minute, we're going back on it because an institution somewhere has come out with a contrary information that, okay, government now sees relevant to change the decision. We keep going back and forth. Is it poor consultation before these decisions are made?
No, it is not. Consultation is never exhaustive. And at some point in the consultation process, you will realize that you invite people to come. You will realize that you've asked all the sectors to come. But some will not. Some will decide to wait until the policy is out. And if the policy is out already, and you realize that it is affecting maybe a greater chunk of those who would have value to the bottom line.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
You would have to review.
But I suppose it's mandatory for some of those institutions to make themselves available for consultation, especially when it has to do with a policy that either the president or some part of the government wants to implement.
If it is a government agency, or it is a ministry or a government apparatus, it becomes mandatory. But when it comes to consultation with, say, the hospitality sector, it comes to consultation with the private sector, it is not mandatory on them. You would invite them, you are extending an invite to discuss something that will affect them,
but
either now or in the future.
It's compulsory on the Ministry of Tourism, for example, to do that underground work for the government, because the Ministry of Tourism is a government entity that works with the hospitality sector.
The Ministry of Tourism is not devoid of the responsibility of engaging the hospitality sector. But the outcome of the pronunciation that Samuel refers to was some of the earliest pronunciation made by the president when the president assumes office in April. So by that time, there was no cabinet. So the president had looked at it from being a leader of the opposition or being in the opposition, has seen those areas as loopholes where government loses money. So he had made a pronouncement. But at the time, those pronouncements were also subject to review, like the traveling expenditure arrangements. It was also subject to review. You cannot put a traveling ban on ministries, department, and agency when they also have to go out. They have to interface with other agencies. Some of them are compulsory traveling. Others are mandatory by the laws we have passed or by the treaties we have adopted as a parliament or as a country for them to attend so that they can interface. One, B, they can advocate. See, they can also bring out goodies out of those engagements. So, but at the time, the president, while he was in opposition, has seen it as loopholes or lines where wastages or where monies cannot be accounted for. So as a government, you would have to put a ban on that, coming to power at that time. And if you had put a ban on that and you had reviewed it and see that, yes, there is need for us to go back and review it, because if we have looked at it, we've seen the gains, it outweighs the expenses, then we have to open it up. It's the same with the hospitality sector.
Honorable, let me quickly ask you this question. What is your current assessment in terms of performance of Sierra Leone's economy? I mean, looking at both fiscal and monetary policies.
You would be an hypocrite if I sit here and say the economy is doing fine. Sal is waiting for that, to say the economy is fine. The economy is not fine because the economies across the world is not fine. And I was going through the exchange rates between April 2018 to December 2019. And I realized between April 2018 to December 2018, the rate was 7,500 up to August, September, then it moves to 8,000. That's the Bank of Sierra Leone rate. It moves to 8,000. And between January of 2019 until April of 2019, it was still 8,000, 8,500, 8,300, 8,600. It was playing around that region. And by August, it moves to 9,000. And we know what happens in December. In December, we started experiencing a worldwide shutdown, the COVID. So it has affected a country like Sierra Leone that depends on IMF support to meet its balance of payments. B, bringing most of its consumables are imported. C, most of the revenues that government generates, 60% of the revenue that government generates comes from imports duty tax. And to compound things, because of the lockdown, because of the closure of waterfronts, because of the closure of seaports, because of the closure of land and airspaces, you realize that bringing goods from countries that were locked down, that have shut down their production line, bringing goods from those countries into Sierra Leone cost twice the amount that it used to cost. Because most of the shippers then had decided not to either move, or if I'm going to move, I'm going to cover my costs fully. So as a country, we have been affected by all of the global happenings, and our economy is not doing well, like every other economy in the world. We've seen countries like Ghana, they are asking the IMF for a bailout of 300 billion. We have not asked for a bailout yet. In as much as it is difficult, we have not asked for a bailout yet. We've seen the real inflation in the US is 8.2%. And we know what inflation was in the US. It was like 1%, 1 point something. And if the US can get to 8.2% real inflation, what will happen to Sierra Leone that depends on the breadth of the US? Or what will happen to Sierra Leone that depends on the UK, whose economy is currently in shambles? We saw what happened 6 weeks ago.
What is the current inflation rate of Sierra Leone? Correct me if I'm wrong, is it 28.2%?
It's between 25 and 28. And that is not indifferent to what is obtained in other countries in the continent.
Right.
Because the world, all of us have agreed, it's a global village. And if it's a global village, we have to accept. If I sit here and say the economy is doing well, then whatever prognosis, whatever solution I'm going to come out with, whatever factors that are responsible for either the exchange rate, appreciation of the dollar and depreciation of the leones, and the shortage of FX in the country, and the fact that the COVID has not only affected the global lines, but we have seen the war in Ukraine and Russia. It's not because it has stopped wheat and others from being imported into Africa, but the fact that one of our major revenue drivers, Vimetco, Sierra Mineral Holdings, they were mining bauxite. Most of their bauxite, if not 90% of their bauxite shipment, was destined to Russia. And now Russia is in that conundrum. We know the number of sanctions that have been imposed on Russia by the world leaders. So it means they have to shut down. And if they shut down, it would affect workforce, it would affect revenues, it would affect even the stability of the economy itself and the foreign exchange market. So the economy, if I should answer your question,
yes, please.
The economy is not doing well, but government has taken steps to ensure that the effect of the global activities, the COVID, the war, and all of the global dynamics, the world is almost slipping into recession. save for the fact that the bigger economies don't want to accept it.
But the world come to look at the specific steps being taken by governments to cushion the crisis, because individual governments across the world are taking steps to ensure that they help. But let's bring in Honorable Sally from the Oppositional People's Congress. First off, let's look at bringing or summoning the finance minister, the bank governor. What do you hope to achieve? What really do you want to get? What's the picture do you want them to paint of Sierra Leone's economy?
Thank you very much, Samuel, and thank you, my colleague, Tawa. When listening to Tawa's submission, I was wondering that, my brother or my friend is not honest to the truth. To say the economy is not doing well is an understatement. To me, this government has failed the people of this country, because the trump card they used to get to power was this economy. There were promises by the then Minister of Finance, by the current president, that if you give us the opportunity to take over power in this country, we'll turn around the economy within 6 months. And we are now 4 years, 6 months. We are still here to explain or blaming COVID, the Russia war. I think we have to complain and tell the people of this country that, you know what, I have failed you, and maybe you ask for another opportunity. But in many cases, when you have failed, you give opportunities to other governments, to other people, to other political parties, so that they will provide the answers. So if I come to your question of the bank governor, we have summoned the bank governor several times. My colleague here knows that we have summoned the bank governor several times, and many a time he's not showing up. He will send the deputy governor, probably because he's fully aware that he's not doing well, and facing Parliament will be a very difficult task for him to defend the current monetary policies of this country.
And that exactly the people of Sierra Leone were looking forward to Parliament to, have had this summon been effected much longer. This time around, what if they don't show up again?
I will not be surprised. Because, as I said, it has been summoned several times.
And then what will Parliament do?
And it's unfortunate that a whole institution like Parliament is summoning someone and it doesn't show up, and nothing is being done about it. That tells you how government is taking the people of this country for granted. When it comes to the economy.
And by that you mean Parliament, yourself too, because you're in Parliament.
Yes, but don't forget that I'm on the opposition. And
but still a member of Parliament.
Yes, I am a member of Parliament, but don't forget that as an opposition, you put your case, you have your say, but you don't have your way. So this is what exactly is happening. The bank governor is a failed bank governor. Everybody knows. When I know we reached to the redenomination, when the redenomination was pronounced, we knew we are heading for trouble. That is why today you asked for the question of inflation. It is not 25. It is almost 30. I can give you the exact figure. It's 29.1. That is huge. It simply says, when inflation is at that level, it simply says, if you were earning 100,000 leos, you are now going to, at 30%, you are now only have a real value of 70 leos. Don't mind me by using 30,000 and the new leon and then the old leon. So the purchasing power of the individual is going down. This is why Sierra Leoneans are angry. They are angry because we are not doing well.
Let's quickly clarify a few things. So in your precursory remark, you mentioned that the SLPP keeps blaming COVID, the war between Ukraine and Russia. But
6 months ago,
what we've seen over time. This is not peculiar to Sierra Leone. We've seen other countries. We've seen where citizens of other countries, take Tunisia, take Ghana, they've taken to the streets because of the economic hardship, because their economies are not doing well. And also those leaders have also attributed the crisis of their economies to these external factors that they feel they do not have control over. And looking at Sierra Leone, a heavily consuming country that does not export, well, in any major sense, does that not leave us in a very volatile position to just keep kneeling down and begging for mercies from those who have the economic might, even though they are complaining? I mean, we've seen to the law, even UK is also complaining, US, they're complaining. So would you not see those factors being responsible for really the current state, coupled with leadership in Sierra Leone?
Yeah. When comparing states, I prefer to compare, we have in research, when you compare like for like. The UK and the American economies are very big economies.
Right.
So sometimes I find it difficult to compare Sierra Leone as a small economy to that of the UK. Let us come down to the sub-region. Guinea, our next door neighbor. What can you say about Guinea? Are they in space? They are facing the same challenges globally. So, but look at what is happening. For the first time since the creation of this country, the Republic of Sierra Leone, the Guinea franc, or the franc Guinea, is by value greater than the leones for the first time. So, meaning we are not getting our economic principles and fundamentals right. And what is happening now? Sierra Leone, or our business people, depend highly to buy their imports from Guinea. If the leone the value of the leone is lower than that of the Guinea franc, if you have your dollar now to go to Guinea, if you used to have 100 franc Guinea, maybe you will not have the 100 franc Guinea again because of the value of the franc Guinea. You have 50 franc Guinea, meaning you buy now less of the commodity. So when you come back, there is no business because the economy is shrinking every day. So people are not buying. So the business people are suffering twice. The first, they suffered from buying because the value of the dollar or the value of the leone keeps depreciating or devaluating, whereas the dollar keeps appreciating. And when they go to Guinea, our petty traders, Guinea is their next door, their marketplace. When they go to Guinea, they suffered. The goods are expensive. And when they come back, they cannot sell because people are not buying. By the time they end up selling, the value or the profit has been consumed, and the same capital they used to go and buy is no longer there. So that is why we see small businesses are closing down. And this is not good for the economy.
Honorable Saliu, are we living within our means as a country? And when I say this, it's the reality of our current economic situation and the expenditure of the government, especially with the travelings as well of the president. Are we living within our means?
We are not. Simple. And the people know that we are not living within our means. When you look at the traveling expenses, if you have the opportunity to see how much it costs Sierra Leone by traveling, in my debates, let me just take you back. In my debates on the budget last year, the 2022 debate budget, I deliberately used the word COVID as a blessing in disguise. These guys were all over. Oh, no, you should not say that. Why I said so? Because COVID limited ministers, directors from traveling because there was a global ban on traveling. So during that time, if you look at our indicators, our economic indicators, we had a stable value of the leone during the COVID period when there was that ban. Because the president was not traveling, the ministers were not traveling, the directors were not traveling, everybody was locked down in Sierra Leone. And at that time, the economy was like trying to pick up. And we are having the support of the IMF and other development partners coming in to support the economy. So we got stronger at that time. But the sooner the ban was lifted, we saw the value of the loan depreciating, going down and down.
But the arguments that people put forward is that the traveling does not have, first of all, that Keke Toma was saying, the president makes these trips. Most of them are very essential. We could not replace the president with ambassadors for those trips. The president himself would have to make those trips. And other people also put forward an argument that the travelings do not have any direct impact or repercussion on the economy. How do you argue against that?
What's the return? That's the question I wanted to ask you. What's the return of these travelings? We expect traveling to bring investors in this country. We are the investors. We are still struggling with being investors. We saw in 2007 when President Nkrumah took over office, we saw the African mineral coming in. We saw so many investors coming into the country because at that time we had friendly investment policies. But today, with all the traveling, with all the engagements, we are yet to see investment taking place. It will still, if you ask Honorable Tawa, he will still tell you it's because of the COVID. People cannot come.
But aside from COVID, we've also
forget
had...
about that. What about let me just come. What about this Tapalapa investment? It's from Guinea. The investor is from Guinea. So where are we today? 4 years, 6 months. Just Tapalapa bread. We are still struggling. No investment. So to me, I think we are not getting it right economically, in terms of policies, in terms of fundamentals, in terms of appointments. It's as if people don't know or they don't have the capacity to really look at some of the problems we have done, the fundamental problems we have, and come up with solutions.
And part of those problems, the president travels, yes, to invite foreign investors into the country. But of recent, there has been one factor as well that has not been looked into, the aspect of terrorism. No investor wants to invest in a country where there is issue of terrorism. And at about 2 or 3 times, so the president has spoken about dealing with terrorism in the country. And by so he also refers to the main opposition, APC, reigning terror.
Our party is a responsible party and it's a law-abiding party. We have never involved in any act of terrorism in this country and abroad. So blaming or accusing the opposition of inciting or behaving as terrorists, to me, I think it's just a way of shifting the post to or the blame to the opposition. What I think the president should do is to, or this government should do, is to look at
Just before we go into proffering solutions to the current economic crisis, let's go back. You mentioned, sorry, I'm taking you back.
Yes,
you mentioned, are people doing businesses, doing their businesses in Guinea, buying their stuff, coming to sell in Freetown.
Yeah.
So one of the key reasons that has been advanced is that there is a cheaper port in Guinea and all of that. When you come to Sierra Leone, since the war, Sierra Leone is listed a red zone country. So people do not come to do business, people do not trust Sierra Leone, and so even when containers come, it has to be very expensive because they do not have the assurance of having or their containers returned with some commodities or some goods to export. They come and they go empty. So for the longest of time since the war, Sierra Leone listed red, is that also not a fundamental problem for us having a very expensive market? So our people would then have to go through Guinea and say, hey, wait, let's get our stuff through Guinea because it's cheaper there. Guinea is not listed as a red zone country, but Sierra Leone is listed. And what we've seen in the last 2 or 3 decades, we've not seen any form of reforms or desire to want to campaign for Sierra Leone to be taken out of that list, be it from the green, from the red, from the move, whatever color of political party in governance. Can that also be attributed to the current state?
I am not a fan of free ports. I'm not a fan of free ports. As an economist, I believe that people should pay. I believe that taxes should be honored and people should pay taxes because that is the main source of government revenue. My problem is when you are unreasonable, when the task burden becomes so huge that people will shy away from the country or from your ports and seek solace to another country. Since democracy started, we've had people paying for taxes. And we've had businesses going on smoothly in this country. Why now we are claiming or we are blaming that it's because of high taxes that people are shifting businesses to Guinea? No. Most of the goods coming to Guinea are not goods bought by Sierra Leoneans. Guinea, for example, has so many investors, big businessmen, that go to other countries, China and other places, you know, and you know, bring those imports to Guinea and sell at a lower price. The advantage we had was the value of the leone was greater than that of the Guinea franc. And if you know, when your currency is of higher value, when you go to the other country, things become cheaper. By even exchanging your currency to the other currency, you made profits. So by buying at their own prices and then come back, you make another profit. So it is about the exchange rates that the country cannot control. And I will tell you, when we come there, I know we'll reach that point.
Definitely.
Why the exchange rate is
definitely. So can I quickly just pick your brain on this? As we talk, Sierra Leone does not have control over the freight cost.
Yes.
Right? And there are no, I mean, we do not have a specific ship.
Like Guinea and other countries.
Specific ship
Guinea and other countries.
to come to Sierra Leone, but it's different in Sierra Leone in the sense that because of the of Sierra Leone being listed red zone. Yeah. So what other countries would pay for 3,000? Sierra Leone would be double, 6,000, 7,000. So that's a loan. I mean, pushes investors. So what should be done by the state?
It comes back to the states.
Yes. So that's what should be done by the state.
These are the areas maybe government should pay attention to. What can you do as a government to change that narrative of Sierra Leone being listed as a red zone? As a government, that should be your priority. So that it's not only the seaport, even the airport.
Right.
When you're coming to Sierra Leone, the flights or the tickets is very expensive. Right. So these are areas because of insurance and because of the cost also, the cost charge on those shipments to Abo at Wataki is very, very high compared to that of Guinea. Of course, it's free in Guinea, you know. So these are areas. If you are pro people, you want to improve the livelihood of your people, the welfare of your people. These are areas you sacrifice as a government. You sacrifice those revenues by putting them down, so that the businessman will now come. The cost of freight and the cost of import will be very low, and by so doing, the businessman will charge a lower price to the final consumer. But when you make it expensive, it's easy. As a businessman, I will shift the cost of the burden to the final consumer. This is what is happening. This is why you see prices are going up every day. It is not because of Russia or because of COVID. In 2008, we had the global meltdown, the financial global meltdown. In 2008, the whole world, that's the worst since the financial system were created. But we saw the president then, the former president, turn around things. Turn around things. We have people who are using the word globalization, global. But it was in the midst of the global, Sierra Leone was ranked as one of the fastest growing economy in the world. So why can't you do likewise? So why blaming COVID? Why blaming Ukraine 6 months ago? To me, I think if the problem with the governments, they cannot offer the right solution. And because they cannot offer the right solution, they keep blaming.
So you think it's leadership? You think it's leadership crisis?
I'm not saying it's leadership crisis. The point is you have to get your policies right.
Who should get the policies right?
You have the ministers. You have the technocrats. These are the people.
Are they not the leaders?
They are the leaders.
So it's a leadership problem.
Yes. Well, when you say leadership, probably the layman listening might only think it's the president you're speaking about.
Also, the president should not be blaming this context.
No, I'm not saying that. It's part of the government.
It's there that carries the crown.
It's the head. So to me, I think it's a collective something. It's a collective business.
Even yourself should take responsibility.
If you have the right people you have the right, you make the right appointments. Like the minister, like the bank governor, he's supposed to resign or be sacked. To me, that's my opinion, because he's not getting the monetary policies right. Honestly, he's not getting them right.
Are we getting our fiscal policies right?
Same so, because these are they work together. The fiscal policies is the Minister of Finance. The former Minister of Finance promised bread and butter. Where is he today? That was why I called, because you cannot provide bread and butter for the people. My first debate was, I refer the budget for the economy as a bitter cola economy. Because people cannot get bread and butter, they resulted in eating bitter cola. So, you cannot. I agree that you cannot fix the economy in one day. But you have taken 6 months, 4 years.
Stay with us. We'll come to you shortly, gentlemen. It's 9 a.m. in our studios clock. Let's quickly take top stories in the news with David Remy Wilson, and we will be right back.
Phoebe, in our top stories this morning, yesterday, President Julius Maada Bio has commissioned a consignment of agricultural machine donated by the Chinese embassy here in Sierra Leone. He says the support has demonstrated China's sheer belief in the country's national development priorities and the drive to achieve food security and strengthen food systems. The president encouraged the Agriculture Ministry to use the machines in the best interest of the people of Sierra Leone.
The backbreaking task of trying to use hoes and cutlasses to farm, now we are reducing that. We have machines. We have bought several tractors in the past, and it is our responsibility to take care of those machines. That is something that we are very poor at. We don't take care of machines. And machines can only serve us if we take care of them. So, to the ministry and the service center managers, machine ring heads, that is more of the private sector, I will encourage you to put these machines under shade, take care of them, maintenance them, and we'll be able to have the full use.
In another story, the chief executive officer of the African Junior yesterday provided lunch for staff and partners of the Africa Young Voices Media Empire. According to the CEO, this is a way of celebrating the Africa Youth Day and staff of AYV. Ambassador Navo says African youths have the strength required to develop the continent if given the opportunity.
Paying back to young people in this country for installing something very huge was to create voice for young people. And we're here today with close to 500 young people being employed in this institution. And guess what? 99% of all of them are youths. Samuel Wise today is one of our general managers in the company. He was there as head of news in the newsroom for many years. He graduated to communications director. Now he's one of our GMs. Anthony and others are now all in the newsroom. So this is a clear manifestation of young people running their own affairs. So I want to thank you, the staff. Please give yourself a and the only way I can thank you is to serve you today on Africa Youth Day. Today you've served me in the last 12 months. Today I'm going to serve all of you. Very modest way. So it's what we call the Pemaon. And remember, we also have the Benjamin. The Benjamin is the Pemaon with no fish, no.
And finally, residents at Komon-Tok community have raised concerns over the deplorable road condition in their community. Poor road network, they say, affects their daily activities like going to school, work, markets, and even the smooth movements of sick persons going to the hospital.
This place here for all this long and 9 years.
I have been here over 9 years. One of my siblings fell down and hurt himself. As a result of the bad road, the dust highly affects us. The road is not in any way friendly. As a result of the bad condition of the road, bikes and trucks carrying our goods ask for high amounts of money.
The community, the line, not fine for we. Say, go this hospital where they are.
Tomorrow, Okana, the community take them up here. And from up here, for Komon-Tok go na medical hospital for in connection for the belly woman there. And the road is bad. You give them motor man if you go there. The quarter,
From Rokupa to approved school and then to Meshkem Hospital, the road is very deplorable. It has many potholes. These potholes are deep. You can tell that the road is not friendly. Pregnant women find it very hard to walk to the hospital while they are at the point of giving birth. The ambulance which carry them finds it very hard to fly through. Bikes are unable as well to reach certain destinations.
All right, that's all we have in our top stories this morning. Back to Phoebe and Samuel in our main studios.
Thank you very much, David Remy Wilson, for bringing us the top stories from our news. Well, this is now the second hour of Wake Up Sierra Leone. We encouraged you earlier on to be a part of the conversation by dropping your comments on our Facebook page. We would now read out some of your messages and factor you into the conversation. The first message here, I'll read, is from Ibi Rahim Chamsila. He says Sierra Leone is not business friendly for the locals. The shipping cost to Guinea is far less compared to Sierra Leone. Imagine shipping a car for 1,000 euros to Sierra Leone and 650 euros to Guinea. What is actually wrong with us?
Osam Conte is already campaigning for Honorable Ibrahim Tawa Conte to be re-elected, so but I'll skip that. Hassan Mansour Kagbo is saying the government has been talking about diversifying the economy and human capital, but our economy has been flat-lining without no growth, no productivity, now in stagnation. And the Leone is looking against the dollar with higher inflation causing economic hardship for the people.
Martin A.M. Silla says you can't compare the global trend by then to now, wherein the developed and developing countries are currently struggling with their economy.
Ansu Andrew Alpha is saying for the economy of this country has been distorted by old professor and the Minister of Finance because these guys can't adjust the cost of living and the control of basic stuff. But them putting blames and not giving any good reasons why the issue cannot be solved. SLPP as was a good economist of this country, that's J.B. Dauda and John Oponjo Benjamin. John Oponjo Benjamin, who served as the Minister of Finance, which when the country was good and well to go. But those guys are now in the position, this is not too clear, and that's why I would have to hold it. Desmond Egatin Akpondo is saying the president has made it clear to the people of Sierra Leone that he cannot protect the people of Sierra Leone with the way prices are going up, and he cannot do anything for the people of Sierra Leone. The bank governor also has made it clear that he has failed the people.
Abdul Stephen says, we all agree that there's a shake in the global economy, but other countries are taking radical measures to decrease the suffering of the people. Botswana took advantage of this economic shakedown and added value to their diamonds, cutting down on the travel expenses and removing certain ministries. Also, the important sacking of the bank governor will solve this problem.
Fiscal responsibility is the backbone of every growth policy, but this government never has one. Comparing Salone with bigger successful economies is baffling when Salone can't produce or export anything. Hassan Mansour Kabo is saying that.
Dean Suma says, a bad workman always quarrels with his tools. Our government is always putting the blame on COVID, the war between Ukraine and Russia. They even blame the opposition, instead of them strategizing to find ways and means to use that to their advantage for good of the masses.
Kamara Charles is saying, when the president went to UK for investment summit, you guys sent your supporters to protest and painted the country negatively.
Hossam Contest says 11 years of APC rule under the leadership of Ernest Bai Koroma, the economy became miserable to the extent the country was in a state of austerity. International donor countries pulled out because of the massive corruption, misuse of power, and political intimidation was order of the day.
We'll take at most 6 more messages because of time. Justice Moisamba is saying, these are the selfish type of people in our political space who doesn't really know the issues. All they care for is to spread lies to the populace. Let this man really tell us where is business booming around the world with characters of COVID eating the world heavily, including the bigger economies.
Justice Moisamba says these are the selfish type of people in our political space who don't really know the issues. All they care about is to spread lies to the populace. Let this man really tell us where is business booming around the world with characters of COVID hitting the world heavily, including the bigger economies.
Yoki Musa is saying our economy was good when the late Ahmed Tijan Kaba was in power and there was no crisis in fuel or increment of our commodity prices and the price control was great. But for me, these 2 recent governments have no better price control, increment of our commodity prices and fuel crisis.
Abdul Ramson K says one of the key challenges in Sierra Leone is we do not have any economic blueprint for any government to follow through.
Brahma Kamara is saying, my own take on this is that why can't we implement and maintain our fiscal policy on issues affecting our monetary policy? In the situation, let's stop comparing ourselves with America and other powerful nations as a whole. In as much as there should be a concrete implementation policy which have led us to somewhere. Why always make comparison of other African nations with Sierra Leone? Even some of them, we are all in the same path in terms of inflation issues. But looking at development, some of these nations, they have moved far ahead of us despite their financial debt is exceeding ours. So let's try and sort our own issues with things as much as investors are coming for investment in our countries. Talking about for example, the COVID-19 is not a solving problem. I'm afraid we're exactly where we're going. God bless Mama Saloon.
My final message is from Boss Eli of Dwazak, and he says, the only way this government can do to stabilize our economy is to reduce the high cost of shipment, and flight tickets are very much expensive in Africa.
Mystica Dwazaki is saying, as a patriotic Sierra Leonean, my expectation is to see the economy of Sierra Leone to turn around. But it's very worrisome the way the Leone is depreciating whilst the US dollar is appreciating. This is not good for growth of our GDP. And my final message is from Justice Moisamba. Look at the man making reference to African minerals. That was not a real investment. Otherwise, a shock like Ebola wouldn't have shut them down. Take a look at mining companies in Guinea and Liberia. They were there before Ebola and are still there operating in full, whilst our African minerals run away so quickly because they belong to the fly-by-night guys. Interesting. So many messages here, but unfortunately time will not permit us to go through all of them. So, Honorable Tawa, as you respond to some of these messages, let's look at the informative way forward. How do we get ourselves as a people, as a nation, out of where we are? How do we cushion the economic crisis for our people? What path should we take?
Like the president normally says, it will take time. Because if you listen to my brother, the Honorable Usman Sadio, you realize that he has said a lot of things that has justified why it will take time. He said in 2008, there was a global recession. But in the midst of global recession, that was when Sierra Leone was hitting its highest point. That was when our economy was going at the fastest rate in the world. So you would realize that at the time when the global economy was going through crisis, the price of iron ore was at the highest. And Sierra Leone was one of those countries that was stable, that was producing iron ore. So most of the off-takers, China, even Australia, that has a huge deposit of iron ore, had to shut down some of their mines, and they were shipping from Sierra Leone to Australia. So it means our economy was receiving huge chunk of foreign currency. And what has happened since the closure of London Mining and African Minerals? London Mining and African Minerals alone, at their peak, they were bringing back to Sierra Leone at least a minimum of $14 million a month. So if two of them were bringing $14 million a month, it means both of them were bringing 28 million. That's not to say the sock fins of this world, they were at construction stages. They were bringing foreign currency to augment their construction. The trocheas of this world, the International Medical Corps that was operating in Sierra Leone at the time, working on a number of medical facilities, and they were here when COVID hit, so they were receiving monies. Most of those NGOs, those INGOs, they are closed. And most of those INGOs today, they are engaged in offshore trading. They are selling a lot of their foreign currency that comes to Sierra Leone then to offshore companies because they think the Bank of Sierra Leone mid-rates or the rate offered by banks in Sierra Leone for their foreign currency is lower than what the offshore companies offer. But guess what? The same offshore companies that will buy that dollar from Save the Children, it is the same offshore company that will sell the same dollar to a bank in Sierra Leone. And in the banking business, it's margin. So if you look at what we have lost over the last 10 years in terms of foreign currency importation by companies that were either at construction stages or INGOs that were here because of COVID or that were bringing huge chunks of dollars into Sierra Leone and exchanging those dollars are not coming again. So mostly where government gets foreign currency is from exports. And if you look at our export sector, when we took up, of course, I said it, London Mining and African Minerals closed in the course of the Ebola. So it means Gerard Mining that came in had an agreement, and the agreement, according to the Minister of Mines, said the agreement was not favoring Sierra Leone. So they had to shut down. The matter was referred to the court. It was back and forth, back and forth. It affected the economy.
The government lost the case.
And the government did not lose that case. What happened is, in fact, there's no judgment on the case. Let us be clear on it. There's no judgment on the case. It was Gerald Mining. Anyway, they have signed an MOU. Let us don't go into the detail of it. Let us don't affect the good work of the minister. But government did not lose the case at the end of the day. And even the International Chamber of Commerce that was looking at the case is still angry because the two parties did not wait for the judgment at the outcome. So it shows that the reason for signing the MOU is at the interest of both parties. If you look at the company that took over after African Minerals, Shandong Steel, Shandong was only operating at a minimal rate. The most of the direct shipping ore that they were mining, they could not ship. So at the time when they passed over to King Ho, most of the facilities, most of the shipping ore that King Ho had shipped earlier was the shipping ore that Shandong was mining because they were not shipping. And if they were not shipping, foreign currency will not come. So like my honorable colleague was saying, traveling was affecting the economy, so COVID was a blessing. COVID was not a blessing. COVID is a distraction. COVID has disrupted the entire world's economy. The major off-takers of foreign currency in this country is not traveling. It is the MNOs, it is the OMCs, the oil marketing companies, the mobile companies. Because these mobile companies are owned by people. And when they declare their profit at the end of the year, the law permits them to ship a certain quantum of their money back to their shareholders. And those monies, the monies they are making here, the monies Africell is making here, the money Orange is making here, those monies, they are made in local currency. So if they want to ship those money, they would have to convert into foreign currency. So that is putting a huge burden on the available foreign currency that government gets, either by means of loan or by means of other transactions that will bring in foreign currency. And the appetite of foreign currency uptake in Sierra Leone currently is way, way different and way higher than what it was 10 years ago. Now, to say traveling is part of the problem, traveling is not part of the problem. Traveling is just a minimal part of foreign currency exchange. But an OMC alone, or an OMC alone, NP alone, would have to pay just one of their suppliers, ADAX, up to $50–60 million over a year. That's just ADAX, not all of their suppliers, just ADAX alone. They would have to pay ADAX $50–60 million. And total now, Connex will also have to pay ADAX another $50–60 million. And all of that, the government, the Bank of Sierra Leone will have to provide. That is coupled the fact that the US dollar across the world is appreciating, even against the pounds. Even against currencies that were way, way higher, highly pegged against the US dollar. The US dollar has appreciated over those currencies. And for us as an economy, like somebody said in the text, that the president wants to focus on diversification. And the sectors that were more affected, that were hugely affected by the COVID, are the diversified sectors that the president was targeting. Tourism, across the world. We see airlines either closed in some parts of the world or asked for bailouts or had to reduce their flights and their flight attendants. We've seen a number of protests by airlines service providers, either as pilots or air hostesses. They were protesting for good wage. If you go to Europe now, you realize that most of the low-budget airlines, they've stopped running because the hospitality industry was affected by COVID. Come to agriculture. At the time when you are closing down, when the world is shut down, where can you get agricultural implements? You cannot risk everybody to go to the farm. You have to take measures that are carefully and well calculated to ensure that your population are safe, and you're also hitting the point of maximizing the outcome. And if you cannot get a healthy population to go to the farm to maximize that outcome, then you would have to balance between let us manage what is currently here. So what is government doing to ensure that some of these things like traveling, things like shipment freight, it is sad. In Sierra Leone, Sierra Leoneans are the least traveled across Africa. We have to accept it.
Yeah, because the people are poor.
Not because the people are poor. The people are poor in Mauritania, but they are traveling.
Not in terms of
No, the people are poor in Burkina Faso, but they are traveling. The people are poor in other countries that Sierra Leone is way better off than, but they are traveling. But in Sierra Leone, the culture of traveling out of Sierra Leone is not there. Because, come to think of it, when I was a boy, my father never traveled with me out of the country.
No,
it's a culture. If you, let me finish. It's a culture. If you
but
go
it's
to
also
other countries,
attributed to the cost of the flights.
it is not attributed to the cost of flight.
In fact,
The cost of flight,
the ticket price even.
let me come to that. There has not been a single increment of tax since this government assumed office. The GST that was introduced in 2009 under the APC is the same GST, same 15% that they are collecting. The income tax, the excise duty that was imposed by the last government, or the regime that was operating.
And the cry of the expensive nature of the ticket does not start now or with the SLPP.
No.
So
it only starts with the fact that the currency that you're using to buy the ticket has depreciated against the currency that you're buying the ticket with.
I disagree.
Because the point is, if I sit here and say our currency is appreciating, I'm saying the wrong thing to the public.
So the people chase you if you say that.
Just quickly, as we talk about solution. So you've mentioned the extractive industry, for example, but the president knew at the time that we cannot just rely on the extractive industry to change the narrative of Sierra Leone's economy. So he mentioned 3 key sectors for the diversification of the country's economy. He mentioned the blue economy. He cited the tourism sector, agriculture, to a point that there was a public pronouncement of those who will be appointed not having farms and all of that. So these are 3 critical areas for the diversification of Sierra Leone's economy. How have these sectors helped in improving the economy? Have we diversified at all? Agriculture, the blue economy, marine resources, and the tourism sector.
Okay, let me connect the diversification to traveling as well.
Go ahead.
We were saying that some of these travels don't yield dividend. But we saw in the news that the president was commissioning agricultural implements, agricultural machinery, because of his trip to China. When he's going to China, he's going there to advocate. And if you look at the presidential pronouncement of people holding public offices, political offices, to be involved in agriculture, you would see that there is a massive improvement in terms of local rice production. What is not there are the implements to process this rice in time, to ensure that some of these rice come to the market. And if you look at it, you ask CTC, they will tell you that the movement of rice from Freetown to the provinces has reduced significantly. Even the shipment timetable has cut down significantly because he was supplying both Freetown and the provinces. But because rice production has taken a different turn in the provincials, that is why his shipment of rice from his store, from his warehouse to the provinces has reduced. And also, you would also forget about Tomabom. Tomabom is in progress. The point is, rice production is not immediate.
The progress, it's not immediate, but even, for example, Pastor Mambu has harvested rice not once. And when it's harvested, it's announced. People get to see the rice and buy. So planting rice, is it rocket science of a 5-10 years period?
Let's understand the rice plantation culture and how Sierra Leone can service itself from its own rice. We have to first of all be honest, and I think the Ministry of Agriculture should also come out and talk to the public about it, that our soil is fertile enough to plant rice. But it is not fertile enough to plant rice to sustain feeding Sierra Leoneans. Why? Because in countries where they plant rice and export, their soil turns in every 3 months. That is to say, when they harvest, they turn it on, they plant, it will grow again. In Sierra Leone, you harvest, you plant rice again on that same soil, it will not grow. It would have to be a 6-month period for it to follow, for it to get that nutrient back, for it to reproduce another harvest season. Let me finish. If you go to CTC has brought in Cameroonians, they brought in Pakistanis, because they want to reduce their cost of shipment of rice by producing local rice so that they can reduce their cost. What they are doing now, before now, it was Nectar that is doing break bulk now. It was Nectar that was bagging for them, CTC. But they stopped. They had to buy their own bagging machine to reduce their cost. And with the bagging machine that they bought, they charge it on themselves at a rate lower than what Nectar was charging them. They know it's going to last for a period of 10, 15 years. And now they're making money on it. That's the same thing they wanted to do with rice. But the test shows that the Sierra Leonean soil can produce. The Sierra Leonean soil is fertile for cash crop.
Forgive me, Fabian. Who is fooling who? Let's go back to when the APC was in power. I think under the leadership of Professor Monty Jones as the Minister of Agriculture, he told this nation that the Nerika rice would take about 90 days, 3 months to reproduce and all of that. So, though we did not get to really see
and that's especially
the impact in this country. So so what is happening? Because we did not get at that point, we were still importing, spending millions of dollars to import rice even during those days. So what is happening?
Okay, I am also telling you about a report that I have seen.
Right.
Because I was a banker. We are financing CTC. We are part of their bankers, a huge line of bankers. And I know they spent a lot of money bringing in Pakistanis here to do soil tests, do soil sample. And because they thought that, okay, the Pakistani, they are from Asia, maybe they have an Asian perspective of what the soil looks like. They went to Cameroon. Cameroon is one of the biggest African producing rice countries. They went to Cameroon where they have all of the implement. They brought in Cameroonians. They checked the soil and the result is the same. So for me, what I think we should do as a country...
You're looking at the period, the phase, whether or not we can even plant rice once in Sierra Leone. It comes back to the fact that whether it's the Nerika rice or it's Tomabum, when it comes to government, Ministry of Agriculture, planting rice, it's taken forever. But when it comes to private citizens, I just made an example of Pastor Mambu's farm, that they harvest rice, and when it's harvested, they sell it, even if it's just once a year. Yeah. But when it comes to Ministry of Agriculture, government planting rice, we don't see the rice, we don't see the product.
Well,
the amount of time you harvest a year, that's a separate science to discuss later. But through it all, we've not even seen once.
Well, what I would say with regards to that is that for most of the rice that has been planted, or for most of the increase in the production of rice, if you listen to Dr. Chakanda recently, you will realize that we were even importing rice seeds to plant our rice. But this year, we did not import rice seeds because the Sierra Leone Seeds Agency has done a fantastic job to ensure that we produce our own seeds. That is also reducing cost because it is also maximizing efficiency. So maybe what is happening is because most of those who are planting had to wait for maybe Pastor Mambu to finish with the rice mill or the rice thrasher or whatever, and they would have to bring it. And most of those rice, they are consumed locally. They are not being brought to Freetown for sale. Whereas Pastor Mambu is engaged in a commercial production. And if he's engaged in a commercial production, he would have to come out in the public, put out advertisement that my rice is... And how long does Pastor Mambu's rice last for? So you see the challenge with rice production. So for us, as a country...
And the challenge tells us that planting rice is not rocket science.
So the challenge tells us that...
Either way, at least once a year, you'd be able to harvest.
We should focus like Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast, their staple food is rice. But they have a fertile soil, but their soil is not fertile to produce rice around the season. So what they've done is they've specialized, they've put attention on what will generate enough resources. They've gone to cash crop. And that is what Sierra Leone is good at. Our cash crop soil, our soil for cash crop is so fertile that we can even do better with cocoa than Ivory Coast. We can do better with cashew, with plantain, with banana than Ivory Coast. So for me, maybe this is a means that I would speak to the Ministry of Agriculture to see how they can redirect their focus. Whilst we are focusing on rice to reduce the rice importation, that is also affecting the foreign currency, by the way, because the three off-takers are commodities, MNOs, and OMCs. And If the OMCs, the $1 now, CTC alone, with Luis Defas, their live Luis Defas is over 100 and whatever $1 million. And they would have to finance that regularly. That is why when CTC bring in the guys will go into a store that is managed by SGS. Whenever the guys comes out, there should be money for it.
Stay with us, Honorable Ibrahim Tawa. Let's bring in Honorable Saliu. So given you've submitted that the government has failed, the ministry has failed, the Bank of Sierra Leone leadership has failed. So in this context now, finding solution, what should be done differently to get it right?
Before responding to your question, I think I need to do some clarifications.
Go ahead.
Especially on the agriculture aspects. It will maybe surprise you to know that I'm the chairman for agriculture.
Yeah.
So I know better than Tawa when it comes to the ministry. The point is we are still not serious.
So I'm a member in the committee.
Yeah, you are a member, yes, a new member. When it comes to agriculture, we still have problems. We are not sincere and we are not putting the policies right.
In what sense?
Yes, we are still not putting the policies right. And until we remove the political lens on how to get our production increased, until we remove that political lens, we will continue to struggle. Let me tell you, there is this policy shifts of agriculture, the ministry not providing fertilizer, seedlings, and all the rest, and now having service providers, agro dealers, and the rest to do the work, thinking and believing that if the private sector invests in agriculture, that was the objective, that if we allow the private sector to invest in agriculture, then we'll have commercialized farming and we'll be able to produce the food that we eat. But unfortunately, in the selection and the arrangement of these service providers and agro dealers, politics played a key role to the extent that most of the agro dealers...
You mean the private contractors who should supply all of these things now?
Yes. Most of the agro dealers are party people. Most of the service providers are party people. So in that situation, you find it difficult to even hold them or bring them to book when they default.
Can we just seek clarification on that? You know, the government said, you know what, we do not necessarily need to be hands-on with some of these things, because we've seen in the past when governments handled those things, it's created a lot of issues. There were issues of corruption, even on the importation of fertilizers, the management of the tractors. So government said, we're going to hands off. So they said, okay, the management of the tractors will be done by private sector. The importation of fertilizers will be handled by private sector and all of this. So you're now saying the private sector members?
Yes. I was just saying, the objective or the reason behind shifting to the private sector was justifiable, but the implementation is the problem. Because if you go down to the field and speak to the farmers, then you will know that there are so many challenges within these policy shifts. And that is why we have not succeeded in fixing the production of rice in this country. There are members of parliament, there are farmers, master farmers. There are so many master farmers out there, but most of the fertilizer will not come on time because the agro dealers, the understanding I had at the time was the agro dealers should be able to buy fertilizer and store those fertilizer and make it available at the right time, because agriculture is time bound. But these agro dealers don't have the money. They hang on to government until government or the Minister of Finance provide finances. That's the time they will go and supply fertilizer. When maybe in the already the planting season has passed, maybe during the harvest season. So you will not get it right. Had it been a genuine situation in selecting or in the scrutiny on or
awarding the contract?
Yes, in awarding the contract or in the selection of the service providers as well as the agro dealers, based on the benchmarks put we could have seen a different situation now on the food production aspect. The Tomabom situation, which is also, I was hopeful that Tomabom and Robe, you are aware of Robe?
Yes.
The one in the north.
The north, for example.
Yes. I was thinking that
and millions of dollars have been injected in both projects.
Yes, but they are not working. They are not functional. Take a look. Go there and see.
Let him land.
Go there and see. They are not functional. Talk to the directors. Like,
and I know the ACC, for example, is investigating Tomabom.
They are investigating it. I know.
Right.
I know. When you go there and see, then you will know that things are not working the right way. So I believe that is the way forward for this country. It is good to have the tourist industry as one of our diversified projects, but it is important, the bedrock for diversification should be agriculture, because that is where we have an absolute advantage. Because it's international trade. You look at where you have an absolute advantage so that you'll be able to provide or to get the business done as early as possible, and then you can buy the things you cannot produce, or where you have a comparative advantage.
And that can be, that can be a sure way of reviving the country's economy?
Yeah, I'm sure. And it's quicker because we have the absolute advantage there. Provided we have the policies right and we remove the green lens, or in the case of, if it were the APC, we remove the red lens and then put the green, white and blue lens, say, this is where we have the advantage and let us go for it and fix this agriculture business. But we are not doing that. Another way, I think,
quickly.
Yeah, let us come to when Tawa was talking about the pressure on central bank in terms of the dollar. He failed to mention to the listeners or the viewers out there that government is also benefiting a lot from, to every liter, government is gaining something.
Right.
And this is where I think government should come in and reduce the suffering of the people. If you remember, the former president was under tremendous pressure by IMF to increase the pump price. He stood his grounds and said, no, my people are suffering, so I cannot add to that suffering by increasing the pump price. That is what a government should do in difficult situations like this. Look at what is happening with the electricity, the units. It is now 3,000. These are areas, this is not COVID, this is not Russia.
And so how hopeful should we be?
These are government products.
Honorable
electricity.
How
so
hopeful should we, hold on, we're trying to wrap up. How hopeful should we be as citizens now that Parliament is again making the move to invite the drivers of our economy to Parliament to have a conversation on the economy? When in previous times you've invited some of them, they've not shown up. How hopeful should we be this time around that this conversation would happen in Parliament?
Our people, in our local language, we used to say, "We frog no pool waste, we young, not we don't only the pool waste."
We are not certain.
So, if we had 5 years, this government had 5 years mandate, and we are now 4 years, 6 months. We have only 6 months left.
So you are not hopeful.
So what can they turn around? You want to go back to what the former Minister of Finance said, that he will turn around the economy in 6 months? They have failed. So going there is just blowing English out of grammar or saying things. But we will not succeed.
Okay.
The bank governor, when the deputy bank governor was in Parliament on this redenomination, as an economist, I warned him not to go with that line. There are options, there were alternatives to do. It was not to redenominate, because the reason was, we want to redenominate because people are holding their money in their mattresses, in their houses, in their safes. So by redenominating, we force them to bring the money. But that did not work. What happened? When the redenominated currency comes into play, the people, the holders of those old money, as he said, just either change to the new currency, or instead of that, in fact, even before the distribution of the of the new loan. When the pronouncement was made, the people went out and convert their monies into dollars.
All right.
So the big question, if I would be in that meeting, and I hope maybe before Tawa leaves this place, maybe he has the answers to the questions the bank governor is yet to explain to the people of this country, and it is mandatory for him to explain those questions.
And you should ensure that is happening because we voted you
for
that.
The bank governor should tell us how much it cost him to print the new loans.
Okay.
Should tell us. 2, we need to know how much of the new loans has been circulated in this country.
Right.
We need to know. This is under
Unfortunately, we have to wrap up now, gentlemen.
Because we are having these two currencies at play, this is why we are having prices going up every moment.
All right.
We
Thank you,
gentlemen. The is falling.
Unfortunately,
are you sticking this out as a parliament to ensure these drivers of the economy come and respond to the summon?
A committee and parliament is as good as the chair.
Are you sticking it out?
And if the chairman of the Agriculture Committee cannot produce a single report for all what he has said here in Parliament, then it will amount to Parliament undermining it by itself. So most of the time that they summon people, they will summon the chamber, and in the end they will say, let's go to Committee Room 1. So you know me, my position on summoning and bringing people to the chamber is clear because I have led the committee and I have shown that Parliament can be transparent.
No, tell us if the bank is going.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you very much, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure having both of you here. Let's quickly take a commercial break, and when we come back, we shall be speaking to the AfriMoney director to talk about the app that has been launched. We'll be right back.
More and more people are using Rokel SIM Copper Plus in their everyday lives. Did you hear that? She just transferred money for her daughter's school fees. And this man just paid for some products. Ah, Mr. Abu, are you sending money to your wife again?
Yes, Rokel SIM Copper.
Ah.
Yes, like having money in my pocket.
Ah, excellent.
Thank you.
He just bought some eggs. The world is digital, so keep up with the times. Have you got a payment to make? If so, just download Rokel SIM Copper Plus now. You can download the Rokel SIM Copper Plus app from Apple iStore and iPad or Google Play Store for Android users. You see, it's fast, safe, and reliable.
Welcome to Chicken Town, where the food is nice and the vibe is right. Let your hair down, relax. For you early risers, start your day with a delicious breakfast at our Charlotte Street branch. We also deliver. Call 074 800 700 or 080 600 700 to order a delivery straight to your door. Chicken Town at 15 Charlotte Street and 39 Old Railway Line, Freetown.
All right, welcome back, and thank you very much for staying with us through that break. This is still Wake Up Sierra Leone here on AYV Television and Radio. Now, in our final segment in the studio, we've been joined by the AfriMoney Director, Martisin Obieng-Ejay, and he's here to talk on the AfriMoney Church donation platform created on the AfriMoney menu and the expansion plan for 2023, among other things. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. I hope I pronounced your name correctly.
You did good.
All right.
Good morning. Thank you.
This new platform, it's new, correct? The platform itself?
It's new, yeah.
Okay.
It's a new service, yes.
A new service added to the AfriMoney brand of services.
Yes.
Why is this new service introduced?
Okay. So thank you for having me, and good morning, Salon. This service, from our perspective, became necessary after we interacted with customers and tried to identify some of the needs, you know. Typically, the mobile money platform has been used for what we consider to be the traditional send money, receive money, pay bills, and so on and so forth. But life goes beyond that, you know. So this donation platform is actually to address the needs or the other things that we use money for. Because the intent of having a mobile money platform like what we have on *161# is supposed to serve the needs of the consumer at every interaction. So it doesn't have to be only following the traditional methods of doing things, but it has to be able to introduce new things once the customer's need is there. So we introduced this service because customers wanted it, and then it's become necessary for the collection bodies like the churches, the mosques, and other institutions who need the service for this service to be available.
So the platform is only for religious purposes?
Definitely not.
Okay.
So if you pick your Afri cell phone, you dial *161 on Afri Money, you go to send money, option 1, you select option 3, it takes you to donations. Once you get onto the donations, you see church, you see mosques. Those two address the religious donations or givings. And for Muslims, for instance, there's the zakat that is giving and stuff like that. So you can have many things within even that space. And then when you go to option 3, there's other. Other opens up the opportunity for every organization, every individual who wants to set up, let me call it a quasi crowdfunding activity that is, verifiable, to have that service. If you go there actually right now, you see an institution called Heaven Homes. Yeah, it is an NGO, and they have set up that particular service to collect monies to support what they do. So when you go there, you want to make a donation to Heaven Homes, you can make a donation there. So, and then we have another institution there, and it's open. I mean, it can be endless. So as many people as possible, as many organizations that want to do collections, crowdfunding sort of activity, this is the service that's available.
There are times when people do GoFundMe online to support certain causes. So with this platform now, how can an individual or an organization that wants to do a sort of GoFundMe but using AfriMoney, how can that person or institution get access to the platform to create their own specific donation platform?
It is possible, it is available. All the individual needs to do is the individual needs to contact us, come to our offices as Wilberforce, the AfriMoney office, and then we have a conversation. We understand what you want to do. The most important thing is for us to have a proper KYC on the customer or the organization, understand what you want to do, check and verify that the activity is genuine and not fraudulent, because we want to make sure that our platform is used for the good of the society and the individual and not want to perpetrate any form of fraud. So we will verify, we will check. Once we are satisfied with all the documentation and everything that goes with it, we give you the capability, we put you on the platform. And then it now becomes, it behoves on you to now communicate to people. We can give you support depending on the activity you need to do, to communicate it, to propagate it so people can use that platform. Anybody who is on AfriCell, dial *161, gets on AfriMoney, registers, and then can go through the process of helping to do the donations. And then you, the individual, gets a collection.
So let's understand better. I was going to ask about the issue of accountability and transparency using the platform. So how does the system, the service itself, how does it work?
Okay, so typical of any mobile money service, when it's set up, there are two ways where the money is either, the money usually sits within our trust account, and then the transfer is made to you, or we give you a graphical user interface that allows you to access the money as and when. Once we go through the process of verification and onboarding, we give you access to, so for instance, if AYV TV, when we did Housemates, anybody who wanted to make any, the platform was used. You know how the accountability is done. We give access to the authorities that are authorized to be able to have access to it. They can see everything that's happening on the platform per second.
Right.
And then when it's time to sweep the money, you either instruct us to do it on your behalf where we do a push, or you have access to the graphical user interface and you can do the pool of the money. So there's an interface that gives clear visibility on what's happening per second on the platform.
Is there a form of interaction from those who would want to make the donations through the AfriMoney and the service providers? Maybe I'm finding it extremely difficult to perhaps go through the process. Is there a form of interaction that can guide me through the steps?
Yes, you can call us. Once you see anything on the platform that you don't understand, you can actually call us, and then we can support you to access it. Now, usually for this kind of service, because it's a donation platform, it's individuals and organizations that are going to be the ultimate beneficiaries of this. We encourage them to communicate as much as possible to customers, so customers can know what the service is used for when the collections are done. But we are there at every point in time to support customers to go through the service and make their donations successful.
Generally, let's just talk about the AfriMoney service. Since its implementation, how would you describe the impact in terms of its accessibility across Sierra Leone?
We have made great strides. In the last year alone, we have grown significantly, especially on our distribution and accessibility platform. And like I typically say, the efficacy of every mobile money platform does not lie only in its technologies, but it lies in its access. And access is mainly two things: access to a mobile phone and access to the agent that does the transaction. The agents are the initiators and mostly terminators of any transaction. Because if you want to send money, you go to an agent point, you do a deposit, and then you initiate the transaction. Once the money gets onto your platform, onto the phone, you can now start to pay your ETSA, send money, pay school fees and all of that on the platform. If you send the money to somebody else, that person receives the money through the technology, but the agent also becomes the termination point where the person goes to do the collection of the funds. If you do a deposit, you start with the agent points, the person decides to go to a supermarket. Because we've registered them as a merchant, then they go there and also do the termination. So the merchants and agents are very important. Now, we've made significant strides in giving accessibility. And our accessibility has not only been in density, where you go and you see a lot of them in places, but we've also covered large geographies and made sure we've covered the nooks and crannies of the country. So as we speak today, you can go to any chiefdom, any province, any town, any city, and you can find an AfriMoney. What it is that people need now to engage more these agents. Now, to be honest, some of these places didn't have agents from the beginning. Some of them were also there, but the serviceability of the agent was not that much. We've put in place structures to ensure that the end-to-end ecosystem is closed, and therefore the agent at the start of the day has access to funds to be able to do these transactions. So we are widely circulated now. We are widely available now. And I'm sure a lot of people can testify that from where we were sometime last year to where we are today, visibility, accessibility, hearing about us, we launched a very loud and famous Lelemu thematic campaign, and I mean, became a talk of the town. So we have achieved great strides, and it can only be the beginning from here. As we get into next year, we try to push further across and make sure that it's a service that becomes available and accessible to every Sierra Leonean who needs it.
So, yeah, go ahead.
How convenient and comfortable is it for AfriMoney users to send and receive money and just basically do their financial transactions?
Okay, there are several ways to start or initiate the service, right? The most basic and typical one is to go to an agent point, give the agent your physical cash, the agent gives you electronic money, you put it on your phone, and then you can send it to anybody you want, because it's easy to do. The second one is that we have integrated with a lot of banks as we speak, especially this year. We've done about 7 banks already this year. In addition to the 3, we had almost 10 banks connected now. That means that if you have a bank account, you can conveniently walk into the bank, link your bank account to your AfriMoney wallet, and then you can draw in money onto your AfriMoney wallet, and then you can
deposit.
Yeah, you can do your transactions from there. You can send money, you can do any deposit. ETSA is a big one. You can buy all your ETSA at every point in time. And indeed, we at AfriMoney are actually putting a spring in your step. If you buy your ETSA using your AfriMoney wallet, we give you 10% cash back. 10% cash back. So for instance, if you wanted to top up your meter today, and you topped up your wallet and you bought 100 leons, after you've paid for the 100 leons, you have your power at home, but we give you back 10 leons. That means we give you back 10 leons, not 10 leons in cash, electronic cash that you can use to do any other thing. Try to cushion your life in this time. So we're actually doing that service as well. And then we are available now also for international remittance. So you can receive money on BNB and Afro. You can receive Western Union, MoneyGram now on your AfriMoney. So with all these sources of getting money into your wallet, it gives you the capability to be able to now do your transactions without any issues.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And I'm sure this is great news for those of us who rely and use AfriMoney. I'm sure this would make things easier for us now. I mean, we're going into a cashless society. So thank you very much. Let's quickly join our sports correspondent in our Studio 2, Ransford McLean, for the latest in sport. Ransford, good morning.
Good morning, Samuel. Good morning to our guests and those who've been following the show this morning. For our first story in sport, the Central One Football Association title President Bill Inter-Community Football Championship has now reached round of 16. Crouton Road Community, that's KTR, sailed through as they defeated Murraytown on post-match penalties 4-3 last evening at the parade ground, Central Park in Freetown. Goalkeeper Marshall Santos Williams of Crouton Road Community made the holy save to give his side the victory. Well, we were speaking to AYV saying that he's so excited to qualify his team to the quarterfinal stage. Let's have a look.
I'm really happy because this is a hard work play. And the gap back of money for going to play. Yeah, then I take care of myself.
And finally, in sports, Sierra Leone is set to host the 15th edition of the Africa Scrabble competition in 2024 for the first time, according to the president, Christian Asgil of the Sierra Leone Scrabble Association. Says this came after their return from the 14th Scrabble competition in Lusaka, Zambia. Let's have a look.
Make sure that the people stay there and begin to plan. Because when you plan well, you don't fail. We are not going to rush, into it. So we called for a meeting on the 6th of November by His grace. We'll meet at Victoria Park and they'll begin to map out the way forward. But for us, it's at our own little subscription that some of us cannot even afford to pay. And then we go helter-skelter looking for people to be identify with us so that they get tickets, and then they go, two of them.
Well, Champions League football returned yesterday as team set to qualify for the round of 16. Liverpool, stopped Napoli yesterday in Anfield as they defeated them by 2-0. And a few other results, we saw Ajax, get the way through. They defeated Rangers by 3-1. Barcelona, who've already, been knocked out. They will play now in the Europa League. Where they have the way through yesterday, they defeated Victoria Plazen by 4-2. We're going to watch other matches coming up for the Champions League, and today, or the likes of Milan play against RB Leipzig and Maccabi Haifa, Benfica, and a few other matches. We'll go through and bring you more on that on the Champions League football. But that's all I have for sports. And back to you, Samuel Wise-Bangra and Phyllis Will.
Thank you very much, Ransford McLean, for bringing us the sports update this morning. And yes, the Sierra Leone Premier League female is still on, and we encourage people to participate and show the same love and support you show when it's, the male players. Buy your tickets to enter to watch the games, support your teams, and just, make it a big deal as you do with the male Premier League. Well, this is where I would like to end today's edition of Wake Up Sierra Leone. Our quote for today says, "A successful economic development strategy must focus on improving the skills of the area's workforce, reducing the cost of doing business, and making available the resources business needs to compete and thrive in today's global economy." A quote from Rod Blagojevich, an American former politician political commentator.
All right, many thanks to our sponsors, Local Commercial Bank and Shaking Town, for their support to the show. Continue staying with us. We have interesting programs coming up throughout the day. Remember, we are your home of all things credible, factual, and all times balanced news. Until we meet again here with more interesting topics, we have been your presenters. My name is Samuel Wise-Bangura.
And I am Phoebe Swiel, wishing you a lovely day. Cheers.
You're watching AYV Television.
It's game on. Let's play. Let's play.
Trying to make some noise.
This was real.
Real. I'm very thirsty.
With so much to look forward to, you don't have to be a football fan to get excited. So stay connected to DSTV.
Are you a private or public sector worker? Do you need some quick cash to settle some bills? Well, the GT Bank Salary Advance Loan is here for you. GT Bank offers you a salary advance loan with a very attractive interest rates. To be eligible, you must have a salary account with us. And payment tenor is within 30 days. Yeah, 1 month. Get some cash before salary is paid. For more information, Guarantee Trust Bank. Wouldn't you rather bank with us?
We all nalek visitor them where they visit with beautiful Mama Salon. Then they spend their money for enjoy with beautiful environment and with interesting culture and tradition. And this they add to with socio-economic development na salon. So let we do them thing them, we go make people them want for come visit with beautiful country all 10. Keep the beach them clean and safe. Keep the streets them clean and safe. Value and conserve with culture and natural environment. Let we plant trees them and keep we environment green all time. Then one where they come visit we country, forget the best service and we for welcome them with smile all the time. No harass them, na for be them paddy, teach them but we culture, with tradition and tell them fine story but salon. No cry you country down. Members say other country themselves get their own problem and challenge them, but then they left all that na them country where then they come to we. Tourism business na all man business. This message come out from National Tourist Board with support from the Salon Economic Diversification Project. SLED.
Now here's the good news.
Sierra Leone Commercial Bank operates in 4 money transfer services, where you can send or receive money worldwide. It's an unbeatable offer. With small wall and real money transfer, the diasporas can deposit money directly into an account with SLCB, providing our customers with an option of sending money directly into your SLCB account. So whether or not it's banking hours, you can still send and receive money as it's when needed, and that attracts no extra cost. You can be that. At Sierra Leone Commercial Bank, we deliver money transfer services through 18 branches. Siaka Stephen Street, Life of Boston Street, Wilkinson Road, Bow, Kenema, McKinney, Corridor, Kleintown, Wilberforce, 34 Military Hospital, Jewey, Waterloo, Rogers Electronics, Capital Finance Co., Casilia Enterprises, and Roy Restaurant. And with our well-trained and qualified money transfer operators, the average turnaround time for a transaction is 6 minutes maximum. So why not open up an account today?